Or you're afraid of things that will almost certainly never hurt you. Public speaking, spiders, being judged by strangers, the dark. Most people assume these are irrational fears. Quirks of the modern brain, things you should probably just get over. But here's the thing, they're not irrational at all. Every single one of them is a fossil, a relic of a world that no longer exists, preserved inside your nervous system like an insect trapped in amber. Because your brain is not a modern machine. It is a 300,000-year-old survival device, running inside a world it was never designed for. And when you look at what ancient humans actually feared, the real things, the documented things, the list looks almost nothing like what we would expect. Some of it will make you feel better about your own anxieties. And some of it will make you feel considerably worse. The obvious answer is predators. Lions, wolves, hyenas, the things with teeth. And yes, those were real. Those were documented. Fossil records from early human sites in Africa show clear evidence of predator attacks, claw marks on ancient bones, evidence of humans being dragged and partially consumed. Anthropologist Brain CK Brain, and yes, that is his real name, spent decades excavating Swartkrans cave in South Africa. What he found changed how we understood early human life. The same cave that preserved human remains also preserved the bones of leopards, and the holes punctured into ancient human skulls match the tooth spacing of those leopards almost exactly. Or so predators were real. The fear was real. But here's what the research actually shows. Predator attacks for most of human prehistory were relatively rare events. Terrifying when they happened, but not the daily, consuming dread that shaped human psychology at its core. The thing that shaped us most wasn't the threat from outside the group, it was the threat of losing the group itself. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar at the University of Oxford spent years studying the relationship between brain size and social group size across primates. What he found was striking: the bigger the social group an animal lives in, the larger its neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thinking and social processing. Humans have the largest neocortex of any primate, and Dunbar argued this wasn't a coincidence. Our brains grew large specifically to manage the complexity of living with other people, to track relationships, remember histories, navigate alliances, and critically to detect when we were at risk of being pushed out. Because for an ancient human, being pushed out of the group wasn't embarrassing. It was a death sentence. No tribe meant no fire, no protection at night, no one to hunt with you or share food when the hunt failed, no one to care for you when you were sick or injured. In the environment where modern humans evolved, a lone human adult had a life expectancy measured in days, not years. This is why social rejection activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. That is not a metaphor. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a study in 2003 where participants were made to feel socially excluded during a simple computer game. The brain regions that lit up, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the anterior insula, were the same regions that activate when you're physically hurt. Your brain processes being left out the same way it processes being punched. Because for most of human history, the difference between the two outcomes was the same. You didn't survive either. This is why you lie awake replaying an embarrassing thing you said 3 years ago. Why you check how many people liked your photo. Why being ignored by someone feels like something is physically wrong with you. It is not weakness. Or it is 300,000 years of wiring telling you that social disconnection is lethal. There was a second category of fear that shaped ancient humans just as deeply. Not the predator, not the exile. Something stranger. The thing that had no explanation. Think about what an ancient human would have experienced with no framework for understanding the natural world. Lightning that struck from a clear sky and killed someone standing 10 feet away. A perfectly healthy person who fell violently ill and was dead within 3 days. A solar eclipse, the sun disappearing in the middle of the day. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have documented that these events don't just cause fear, they cause a specific particular kind of terror. More the terror of a world that has become unpredictable. A world that has rules you cannot understand and therefore cannot survive. Psychologist Paul Rosen at the University of Pennsylvania called this the unknown, and his research found that across cultures and throughout history, humans respond to the unexplained with a specific set of behaviors. Ritual, narrative, the urgent need to impose a story on something that makes no sense. This is where religion comes from. It is where mythology comes. It is where superstition came from. Not from ignorance, from fear. From the very rational understanding that if the world has rules you cannot predict, you're not safe. The ancient human who invented a story about why lightning strikes, even a wrong story, was better positioned to function than the one who had no story at all. And here's the part nobody talks about. That drive has never left us. The need to find patterns to explain the unexplained, to make the random feel intentional. Psychologists call it apophenia, the tendency to see meaning in noise. It was a survival tool. It is also the reason conspiracy theories spread faster than corrections. The same ancient circuitry that helped your ancestors survive an unpredictable world is still looking for patterns in one. Or so. What does this actually mean for the fears you carry right now? The spider in the corner of the bathroom, the feeling of dread before a presentation. The way your stomach drops when someone reads your message and doesn't reply. In 2000, psychologist Arne Oman at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden ran a set of experiments on fear conditioning. He found that humans learn to fear snakes and spiders after a single exposure, sometimes even subconsciously, before the conscious brain has processed what it saw. But it takes many more exposures to condition the same fear response to something modern, like guns or cars, even though cars kill vastly more people than snakes ever will. Your fear system is calibrated to the world of 300,000 years ago, or it is exquisitely sensitive to ancestral threats, snakes, heights, social rejection, the dark, and genuinely poor at registering modern threats in the same visceral way. This is why you can know, intellectually, that flying is statistically safer than driving and still grip the armrest at 30,000 feet. The knowing is in your prefrontal cortex, the fear is in structures far older, and in a competition between those two, the old brain wins almost every time. You're not irrational, you're ancient. Here's what's strange about all of this. The fears that plagued ancient humans, the real ones, the ones baked into the architecture of the human brain, were never really about lions. They were about belonging, about meaning, about a world that made sense. And if you look at the things that most reliably make modern humans miserable, they map almost perfectly onto those same fears. Loneliness, purposelessness, the feeling that the world is chaotic and you cannot understand the rules. We built cities and electric light and antibiotics. We solved almost every problem our ancestors faced. We are, by any measurable standard, the safest humans who have ever lived, and yet the fears didn't go away. They just found new things to attach to. Because your brain doesn't know it's safe, it's still scanning, still watching the edges of the firelight, still calculating whether the group might leave you behind. The fears ancient humans carried were not primitive mistakes. They were the entry price for being human, and we're all still paying it.